Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Now, Podcast One brings you Spike's Car Radio, a downloadable cars and coffee, hosted by writer, comedian, and automotive enthusiast, Spike Ferriston. Now, here's Spike.
All right, welcome to Spike's Car Radio. Today, a bullseye guest for you folks. We have, if not the king of all media, that's Howard Stern. We have the king of West Coast, maybe the Valley media. What would you say, Mr. Adam Carolla?
I just go with the queen. I mean, the king role has been filled, but the queen vacancy's
You're
open.
the queen of all media. You really do it all. Every time I look up, you're doing something new. You've got your own booze that you sell.
Yeah.
You've got this podcasting empire. You're out racing 935s in Monterey. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, I want to catch up with you because I think the last time we were together, you were buying that Porsche 935, and then now we're a few weeks out here from Monterey. Did you race?
Yes.
And what was it like in that car?
It was good. I liked it. I think we saw each other in between purchasing the car and driving the car.
Mm-hmm.
But
you had it up at Bruce Canepa, and he was getting it ready.
he was getting it ready, and he took it up to Sonoma, and I met him there, and I drove it for a few laps at Sonoma, which I never really liked Sonoma because I just found it too technical for me, but I kind of got the hang of it a little bit, and I got a few laps in some comfort level in the car, and so then we went down to Monterey to Laguna Seca to do the Rolex Historics, and I was feeling sort of semi-confident about the car, but then I have these, it ebbs and it flows.
No one's driven a 935 that I know. What's it like? It's a 4-speed transmission, right?
Yep.
There's turbo lag, and then there's a bit of fire that comes out the pipes.
Yep.
And this car was the answer to the RSR. Correct? After the Porsche was racing RSRs, they made this car?
I think it went RSR 934 and a half, and then 935 is sort of how it went. But yeah, it essentially just came after the RSR.
So when you get on this thing, the only thing that I've driven that kind of frightened me that sounds like this car was a GT2, a 996 GT2, where I was at Willow on the back straight doing about 60 or 70 and got on it, and then the rear end came out out of nowhere. Is this a car that's easy to control, or do you have to respect it?
I found it pretty drivable. I had a lot of people sort of filling my head with these things. Like I was talking to Leno before, and he did the thing that many people do, and especially car guys. And it's a car guy thing where they go, "You ever drive a 935 before?" Yeah, my dad had 3, and I had one. Well, there's one I used to drive to high school. I mean, that thing, but that was down on boost. We only ran like 1.1 bar. But no, I haven't driven a 930. Who's driven a 935 before? Right.
So tell us, what is it like? What is that experience? We want to know.
So my experience of the 935, it's got big tires. So lots of slicks on it, but I'm used to that with my Nissan cars. It's got mine was dynoed at about I think it was like 580 to the rear wheel, so it's probably making about 675 or something. I can't remember. You deduct like 13% or whatever it is from the crank to the flywheel to the rear wheel. It has a boost gauge. It has a boost knob that the good guys will play around with, and the other guys will just sort of leave at 1.3 bars, what the factory says, at like 20 pounds of boost or something like that. It's got a 4-speed, so everything's pretty long. Like the first gear is very long. It's like you can go, 70 in first gear, and at at Laguna Seca, you should probably get it into first gear on turn 11 coming into the straightaway. You should probably get it down into first gear. I was just sort of instructed. I asked Bruce Canepa, am I getting into first gear on that turn? And he went, you're not. I now realize what he was saying. I was like, I'm saying, like, do you get into first gear in that turn? And he was like, nah, just second gear. But I was like, I was doing the math. And he was telling me his first gear is good for about 70 miles an hour, and you do that turn at 30 miles an hour. So it's like, why wouldn't you get into first gear? And he said, no, second gear's fine. I was like, all right, well, if he says so. And then later on, I did talk to some 935 guys, and they're like, oh, yeah, no, first gear all the way. So I think Bruce was kind of trying to put some training wheels on it for me.
So when you get out, when you're on the track and you're racing, explain to me, because I really don't know what this is. Is this just a bunch of other guys with period race cars that are doing parade laps? Excuse me. Or are you actually competing?
Oh, yeah, I'm competing. Everyone's competing.
And how did you do?
I did 16 out of 50, which is okay.
That's a lot of cars on the track.
There's a lot of cars on the track.
And what are the other cars?
Lots of RSRs, probably 4 or 5 other 935s. Mm-hmm. Lots of 934s, 934.5s, like all the different kind of configurations of Porsches.
And how many laps are you doing out there? Or is it a time
The race is 20 minutes. You usually get like 11 laps in or something like that. There's some big Corvettes. There's some BMW M1 Pro cars. There's some 3.5 CSL Batmobile BMWs. And then there's these things called Decon Monzas, which are like Chevy Monzas, but they're all like fiberglass and have this big injection, and the engine's like pushed back. And what they're kind of monster cars.
What do you get it when you win? Do you get, is it a trophy, or is it just bragging rights? Is it money?
Women. Mainly Coke and women. Sometimes some cash will be sprinkled in there just to snort up the Coke, mainly.
Wow, that's tremendous. I didn't see many women up there, by the way.
Yeah, not a lot.
No.
I won, one year I won the Rolex Cup. They have a Rolex. They give out a Rolex Cup every year, but for each run group. But it couldn't have been less climactic because...
There wasn't champagne dumped over your head.
No, I did the race. So here's what happened. There's 2 parts of getting a trophy that are good, and I think I lost out on both parts. The one part is when they hand it to you, like when people are clapping and flash bulbs going off everywhere and the paper spinning around. Carolla wins Rolex Cup, you know, that kind of stuff. Lusitania sinks and Carolla wins Rolex Cup. So that's one good part, and then the other good part is later on when people see it, like in the trophy case, and go, "Hey, look at that! What is that? A Rolex Cup? Hey!" Those are the 2 good parts. I did not benefit from either one on the positive end of either one of those 2 parts because I did the race 2011. I did win the Rolex Cup. I did the race. My run group was like 3 in the afternoon, and I was doing like morning radio. Monday morning. And so I got a 5-hour drive ahead of me. So as soon as I get out of the car, drink a beer, get out of the fire suit, and bam, right on the road. And so at like 5:30, I get a call from like one of the guys who's still at the track, and he's like, "Hey, where are you?" Well, and I'm like, "I'm on halfway, you know, I'm in Salinas or Baker or whatever. I'm heading home, you know." And they're like passing the Anderson split pea soup guy, and they're like, "Oh, you just won the Rolex Cup." And I'm like, "All right." And they're like, I'll take it back with me and I'll give it to you. I said, "Okay, thanks." So you take it. So this guy named Les took it. And then, so I got nothing out of the initial receiving of the Rolex Cup. And then later on, if anyone ever sees the cup or asks about it or wants to know, like they'll go, "What do you do with that vintage racing? Like you, or how's it work?"
Right,
I said, "I won the Rolex Cup one year." And they go, "Oh, does that come with a watch?" And I go, "No." And they go, Sorry, man. That's got to sting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I got a Rolex cup. And they, yeah, but no watch.
Yeah,
and
no
then they
watch.
leave.
That's right.
So it feels bad.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, is that Daytona.
Everyone wants to know about getting a free watch.
Well, it's Vic Elford's Daytona. You know, Seinfeld just bought, well, he didn't, no, he did just buy Vic Elford's Daytona that he got for winning the 24 Hours of Daytona back in the day in a I think, a 907 Longtail. I think that was the car.
Right.
And that's a very valuable old Rolex.
When did he buy it?
Maybe about a year ago.
So that must have been...
Now, by the way, he was chasing it on the way up. I hope he doesn't mind me telling the story. When he bought the car, he was offered the watch. And he said, no, I don't want the watch. And I said,
Right.
You got to get the watch. And he, what did they want for the watch? He was like, it's $10,000. I'm like, trust me, that is a Daytona that you want.
Right.
So it's a 1968 Daytona. It's one of the first series, black dial, white
Sure.
subdials. Even if you don't know about watches, the provenance of that watch, that it was handed to that guy. And there's a picture, if you Google Vic Elford Rolex Daytona watch, there's a picture of him, black and white, holding the watch like this with a smile.
Right.
So you can see
I
the
never
auction.
got to experience that.
You can see
I
that
was
in the
driving
future.
home. I was at Anderson Split Pea Soup. I never had that Vic Elford moment. There it is.
There
Right.
it is. Look at the picture.
Right.
There it is. So I collect old watches, and I said, look, this is the shit when it comes to Daytona. You want this watch?
Sure.
I don't like Rolex.
How long ago was that?
This is maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
So he is offered it again a few years later. Now they want $50,000. What do you think? And I see you got to buy it. And I'm not sure.
Right.
I think last year he calls up and he goes, I'm thinking about that watch again. And I'm like, why don't you? He goes, what do they want for it? They want $150,000. It's ticking. You see how it's ticking up?
Oh, my God.
It's ticking up. And I said, just grab it, because I think that watch is probably going to be worth $1 or $2 million by the time this thing hits auction, when you die and your wife puts all this stuff up.
Sure, when she kills you and puts this stuff up for auction.
Paul Newman's Rolex Daytona is going for sale. It's up for sale in October and November. And,
Yeah.
and they're saying that watch is, I thought that watch might be selling for $5 or $6 million, but I've heard recently some guys who are willing to go as high as 11 on that watch.
Well, they say, because I'm not a big watch guy.
But this
how
was
could
Paul-
I be? I
this
don't
was-
get one when I win a cup. How else
I'm
does
gonna
one
get
get a
you
watch?
I'm going to get you
There's
one of
other modalities for getting watches?
Yeah, of
Oh,
course. You just
okay.
go buy one.
Oh, okay. See, I
Inscribe it to yourself and put it on your wrist.
drive safely. Me.
Well, the Paul Newman watch was a gift from his wife. You must know. You're the big Paul Newman guy, right?
That's why I just said drive safely, me, because that's
Right,
what
that's
it says on the back of the
Now,
watch.
now, you're the guy to ask about this. I've heard there's more than one watch. The legend is he only had one of these things, but I've heard tell of 4 of these. Do you know anything about that?
I will tell you what I know. This is supposed to be the big watch that's coming to auction, I think, in New York. End of October, maybe October 26th is the date that pops out into my head. This apparently, he wore this watch from like 69 to like 84 or 85 or something, somewhere in that range. Evidently, he was pretty fanatical about his watch and keeping time, and he used to, I was told, because I talked to the auction guys, I was told he'd do a thing where he'd get his buddies. This is back before they had YouPorn, and they'd say, here, they'd listen to the radio, and they go, at the tone, the time will be 12 p.m. Bing! They used to do that on the radio, and he'd show it on the Rolex, and they'd go, all right, when it comes around again, we'll go hear it and see whoever's like the closest, and his would be the closest. I don't know. Again, no YouPorn, no smartphones. We had to make our own fun back then. So he was very fanatical about his watch. Joanne wrote, I think, Drive Safely, me, on the back of it, and he wore it for a number of years, and going through Le Mans and everywhere else, and then had his daughter's boyfriend spent like the summer helping him rebuild like their lake house or something, and at a certain point he just said to the college age lad, what time is it? And the guy said, I don't know, I don't have a watch. And he said, well, now you do. And he sort of took his watch off and handed it to him, probably, I don't know, his payment for helping him build the boathouse or something. And then that guy just wore it every day as his watch for years and years and years, until they found out what it could be worth. And now it's coming up for sale. Now, I found out that the most expensive watch ever sold for like $11.2 million or something like that. And the thing that was interesting about that watch is it was stainless steel. It wasn't gold. Like I was picturing something that was very ornate and 500 years old and this and that and the other. It was just they made a run of watches like in the 40s, and they made 250 watches, and most every one was gold. And they made like 4 in stainless.
Right.
And that's the one that sold for $11 million.
Is this a Rolex? Was it a Rolex?
Not a Rolex.
A Patek Philippe?
Something I haven't heard of, which is everything.
Right. Well, it's all about provenance. It's about
provenance.
that. Yeah, it's about, it's Steve McQueen's overalls that sold for $1 million.
So now they got this watch, and they said, well, we think it'll fetch $1 million. But everyone seems to think it's more like $8 million,
yeah,
5 or 11 or something. They think it might break the record. I don't know.
I think it's definitely going to break the record. The guy I was talking to is a Silicon Valley guy who was telling me about some deep pockets who were interested in it. And that's all I will say. But
good for Jerry, right? I mean, if the thing goes for $11 million and it's a Daytona,
I make him so much money.
Oh my God!
Do you know? Imagine. So this watch got delivered. No, he bought it, right? I go, you got to talk him down. He goes, I don't like to work with it. I don't like. I go, look, just offer him $125 and say you should have got the watch when you bought the car, and you'll get it. So he gets it, and I talked to him maybe a month later. I'm like, what's the watch like? He goes, I don't have it yet. And I go, what do you mean you don't have it? He goes, there's a problem with customs. I'm like, customs? I go, Jerry, I just had a watch repaired in Europe, and it was sent in 3 days.
Right.
Or it got here from Japan.
Right.
And it turned out whoever was working for him saw that it had an oyster bracelet. Mm-hmm. And Jerry was like, he said, it's tied up with fish and game.
Wow.
And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, the oyster bracelet, fish and game, I don't know. I got to talk to the assistant. The assistant thought that the watch was really made of oysters and was trying to get it cleared through fish and game.
Wow.
And it's not surprisingly, it was stuck there going, what are we dealing with? How do we get the paperwork for that? Anyways, when the watch arrived, he was very upset. He called me and he said, I am looking at this, the condition of this thing. It's a mess. It's an absolute. I can't believe you talked me into buying this. He was genuinely upset.
Sure.
And I said, you're acting like a woman right now, Jerry.
Sure.
You're upset that I am about to make you $5 or $6 million in the future.
In the future, yeah.
In the future,
for sure.
And we sent it to Ben Clymer at Hodinkee. And he knew, I mean, everybody knows the watch.
Right.
And he did a sympathetic little restoration and fix-up. And then when Seinfeld got it, he was blown away. And now finally he's wearing it.
Okay.
So there you go. There's our little watch journey here. Are you going to bid on that watch? Is that why you were looking into it?
No. I don't have that kind of money, and I'm not a watch guy. I'm more of a car guy. But the reason I know about it is because they were trying to get my car out there, the 935, to kind of display with the watch to kind of,
right.
You know, you can picture the watch or picture Newman wearing the watch at Le Mans, and the car, and then the car sitting there with some ropes around it.
That's
and
pretty great.
That'd be a good photo op, you know?
Did they bring it out? They didn't. I didn't see it up there.
Oh, well, it's not, I mean, the auction's not for another couple months.
I know.
Guess.
Why couldn't they have brought the watch out?
Oh, no, the watch, as far as I know, and boy, this is the most I've ever talked about a watch, but it is kind of interesting.
The watch, by the way, it's not a watch.
Yeah, the watch is making a tour. I think it's coming out to it's coming to L.A. and Tokyo and stuff like that. The watch is on tour, and at some point, we'll probably have the watch and the guys or something in on CarCast or something like that. But at some point, some days before the auction, my car may be trucked out to New York and displayed for that weekend or whatever with the watch. I actually did something which I was trying to. I said, "What weekend is it?" And then I was told, I think, like I said, October 26th. And then I said, "Are there any vintage events at like Lime Rock or anything like East Coasty there that we could do since the car's going to be there?" And the answer was no. But I was fancying the idea of taking that car to Paul's home track of Lime Rock. I can show you a lap of Laguna Seca, I mean, in the race from that car, if you want to know kind of what people are doing out there.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to see that.
Matt might be able to find it or pull it up or do something with it. I don't know.
Well, when it comes to racing...
Hold on, Engineer Matt, sorry.
I just wanted to double check. You talking about the practice lap or the one that was in the race? I know.
I'll show you the practice lap. You'll laugh. You'll laugh during practice because if you want to know, like, are guys going fast? Aren't guys going fast? In practice, I was not going fast. I was trying to get comfortable in the car and used to the car.
That's really smart.
But the group that I run in is a fast run group. Mm-hmm. So if you choose, if you go out to Monterey, there are probably 13 run groups, right? And if you want to choose the, 1961 to 1966 under 2-liter sports cars or whatever, then you'll be out there with a lot of like bug-eyed Sprites and MGs and Triumphs and maybe a Datsun 2000 Roadster or something like that with fairly thin tires and making somewhere around 180 horsepower to 205 or something. But if you want to go with the group at the Decon Monzas and the Corvettes with the big blocks and the 935s, now you have a different breed of cat. You have dudes that have 760 horsepower and 14-inch wide slicks, and those guys aren't going slow because they wouldn't go. Who would want to be? Right. Who would be attracted to that group if you didn't want to go fast?
Doesn't it terrify you to be out there? That's what I wanted to get into. I mean, you and I are around the same age. I have no desire to go fast on a track with people who might be having something to prove. In an old car where I might get jammed.
I'll show you a funny little 30-second montage of how fast people pass me when I'm warming up. It's just a warm-up lap.
Look at the vibration in the car.
There goes the Saks 935.
Right.
I just point at people and tell them to go this way. Now that fat passed me like 90 miles an hour. Now look how fast. That's a Decon Monza. Yeah. That's another Decon Monza. And here comes the vet. Right. So those guys aren't driving slowly. I'm driving slowly.
I respect that. I like that. See, I like that.
But when the race starts, I'm not driving slowly.
Do you lose your mind?
No. I don't have any problems with it.
You don't. Have you crashed?
A little bit, yeah. At Coronado one year.
Did you hurt your head, your eyeballs, or anything? Or?
No.
No? It was all good?
I feel like in a cage, although the 935 is much less cagey than the Newman Nissan turbo cars, because that's just a full-blown tube frame cage-built car. But I'm, Hans device, strapped in, 6-way harness, feeling pretty good about myself, and haven't had any major issues.
How does the wife feel about this?
I don't know. I don't really talk about it that much. Like, I don't know what her opinion is on it. The only time she's ever voiced concern / anger is she doesn't like it when I speak in terms of hurting the car. Like, I speak a lot in terms of hurting. I don't want to hurt the car. I don't want to hurt the car. I don't want to embarrass myself and wreck the car and stuff like that. And then the only time she's ever chimed in and she went, "What about you? I wish you'd talk about you." And then I go, "Yeah, but if I hurt the car, if I don't hurt the car, then I can't get hurt." So I'm just doing a math.
Right, there you go.
That's kind of a low self-esteem math. I'll show you a lap. I'll show you what the race looks like. They pull you out.
Where can we see this stuff?
You can go to carcast.com or YouTube or...
So this is on your website,
carcastshow.com.
Carcastshow.com. There's some RSRs. There's some M1 Pro cars out there. You do a parade lap.
Your steering wheel looks really tiny.
Everyone says that.
What's going on? That's a little...
Oh, you got the wrong... Right? Oh, hold on. This is Chris's horrible first cut. Chris, I'm glad you saw that, so you know how nonsensical and bad your first cut was.
There you go. Anyway,
I told him to fix it, but I can walk you through it, and you can see what what it's like. Well, you got to throw that one away, Chris. You can't have that out circulating.
Let's take a break.
Oh, take a break.
And
yeah.
we'll come back. I want to talk to you just about the beginnings of your car thing. We'll be right back with Spike's Car Radio. In order to feel comfortable that you're getting a fair price, you need pricing context, information that empowers you to feel confident. With TrueCar, you'll see what other people in your local market paid for the car you want. From there, you can connect with a local TrueCar certified dealer and enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Using TrueCar, you can easily find the car you want. TrueCar will show you what other people in your area paid for the car you want. Now you know what a fair price is, so you can feel confident. Once you register, you'll see real pricing on actual inventory. This is competitive pricing offered to you only by a TrueCar certified dealer for an actual vehicle on their lot. It's pricing you'll see before going to a dealership, so you can feel confident when you show up. With TrueCar, you can connect with a local certified dealer of your choosing, so you can enjoy a quick, easy buying experience. TrueCar customers are more likely to enjoy a faster buying process when they connect with TrueCar certified dealers. TrueCar users save an average of $3,000 off MSRP. Wow, that is a lot of dough. And when you're ready to buy, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states, and I'm not going to tell you which features or which states.
Here at Podcast One, we love hearing from you. We read every tweet and comment you send our way, so don't miss your chance to take our summer listener survey. Just go to podcastone.com and click on the survey banner, or go to podcastone.com/mysurvey. It only takes a few minutes, and it gives you the opportunity to make a direct impact on your favorite shows. Tell us how you really feel, so we can get to know you better. We value your thoughts and participation, so check out the survey at podcastone.com/mysurvey, or click on the survey banner on podcastone.com.
You're listening to Spike's Car Radio.
All right, we're back with Adam Carolla on Spike's Car Radio. Adam, I wanted to get to know you from the beginning. I was just up in Monterey, and I did a car chat with Jerry Seinfeld. I took him back to his childhood, to the first moments where he was looking at vehicles, and what was it that really stood out? That moment where you kind of were attracted to a vehicle. Do you remember what that was?
You mean like real childhood stuff?
Yeah,
like 5, 6 years old?
Yeah, your earliest kind of car memory.
My earliest kind of car memory was living in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I think we're out there until I was like 5 or 6. Going to like the Cherry Hill Mall and seeing a die-cast model of a yellow Ferrari, a Dino Ferrari. And I thought, and I still do, I think those cars are some of the best shaped cars ever. You know, they're pretty gutless, and they're not much in the performance department. But in terms of the way the door blended into the scoop that fed the rear engine or mid-engine, and you just picture the door and that intake along the door, and just how that car's
rear glass that pulls
the
around.
general shape
I owned
was.
A yellow Dino. That was the first Ferrari I ever bought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had that car.
I think it's. Did I say gutless? That thing will snap your neck and put your right foot into it. No, I know.
But it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful shape. It's a beautiful shape.
State.
The interior's beautiful. The seats are beautiful. Like it's a great aesthetic, sort of spot on 1969, 70, 71, just right in that era, and it's beautifully shaped. The front end is beautifully shaped. Like it's a great shape.
So were you the only one in your family that liked cars, or
yes.
Not your dad or anybody else? No,
not at all.
It was just that. And
Zero.
Of course, there was no Ferraris around. No. So where does it go? You see this car, and then are you making plans in the future, or at what point does this car thing turn on? Where does it go from that moment?
It goes like Tommy Lee. Except for minus the story where their parents bought him his first drum kit when he was 7. It would be Tommy Lee if his parents never bought him a drum kit and he never had access to a drum kit and didn't know anyone who owned a set of drums.
Right.
So I just found myself like walking around doing this all the time.
That's right.
Like, yeah. But I never had any drums. Oh, and if Tommy Lee never had any money to buy himself a drum kit until he was 31. So that's kind of
so it's car magazines, posters, dreaming essentially.
It was weird. I never even really had any posters, and I couldn't read very well. So it wasn't really so much even car magazines. I just kind of lusted after cars. But but it was all things mechanical. I wanted tools. I wanted to turn. I wanted to make things. I loved looking at race cars. And and we lived in apartments with no garages, and my dad had no tools, and we had the drawer in the kitchen with like the one universal wrench and the butter knife that we use for a flathead screwdriver.
I had that drawer.
And it was like the stupid, there was a flashlight in it with one battery. And it was like just that stupid drawer.
Uh-huh.
And then always one thing that didn't belong, like what's this packet of Taco Bell hot sauce doing in with the tools? I don't know. That's the drawer.
I love that drawer growing up. That was a great drawer.
That drawer, yeah.
The kitchen drawer. So where is your first car? Is it, were you the type of kid? Like for me, ride-on lawnmowers were available to me when I was 9 or 10. Like that's what I lusted after. And then I begged my dad to let me drive the family car. And then my dad bought me my first car, but it was a Torino 500 from 1971.
Wow.
That he bought for $383 or something that I shared with my brother. What was your first car?
There was no car culture, car anything in my family. And there was no money, so I just kind of lumped it all the way through high school and just walked to high school and stuff like that. And then at a certain point, I bought a motorcycle, a Honda 404, and I drove that around for a while. And then at a certain point, I got a junker Z car, 240Z, so I like the Zs. I like the Datsuns. But then the problem was I quickly got into construction, or basically just being kind of like a laborer on a construction site. And so what happened was my boss, I was making, I think, $7 an hour, and my boss said, my foreman said, if you buy a truck, I'll give you another $1 an hour. And I remember just thinking, that sounds like a pretty sweet deal. So I bought a very used Mazda, like 79 Mazda, like a long bed pickup truck with like the bench seat was taken out.
Why is he giving you more money to buy a truck, just because it looks right, or because you can haul stuff? Or
I think I would pull up on my motorcycle, and I was no good to him to go on like a plywood run or something. But if I got a truck, he could dispatch me to pick up 2x4s or whatever else.
You're losing money on that deal, though. You know that.
I don't know what he was thinking, but I was thinking I needed a truck anyway. Like this is all roads were kind of leading to Adam needs a truck, and I knew I needed one to kind of do side jobs on the weekends and work for myself and stuff. So I ended up getting a mini truck. And it was a clunker mini truck, and then
what's a mini truck? Explain to me what that is.
It's any Japanese truck produced before like 1993.
You don't remember what it was?
Any Japanese truck. It was a Mazda. It was a Mazda.
A Mazda truck.
It was a Mazda truck, and then I got a Datsun truck, and then I got what became a Nissan truck, an 84. And this is miniature little pickup trucks. Like when you see a Tundra or something now, or something Toyota's making or Nissan's making, they're big.
Right.
When you look at the ones from 79, 80, 81, they're mini pickup trucks.
But why were you picking all these Japanese brands?
I had no money. Gas was kind of expensive, like in terms of how much money I made versus mileage. Like it was a kind of an issue. And I quickly figured out that the little four-banger Nissan was pretty bulletproof. It sipped gas. I could work on it. And economically, it was going to work out for me a lot better to get the little mini pickup truck than it would to drive the Ford F-250. So I just got the little mini pickup trucks, and I drove around mini pickup trucks. But I was not happy about it because I was a car guy and I wanted a sports car, but I couldn't drive a regular car because of my job. I needed a truck, and I was, forced to sort of chained to this pickup truck, and it sucked.
So where does it go from there? Like, what's the moment you realize you're going to start collecting cars?
At some point, I get like a Datsun 2000 Roadster as a sort of a second car that I can wrench around on, but I didn't have like insurance on it because I couldn't afford insurance and blah, blah, blah. And then at a certain point, I kind of just gave it up. I was just like, oh, forget it. Drive your pickup truck, do your carpentry, and like, if you make some money, make some money. And at that point, I found myself like looking at car magazines and seeing the first E36 BMW M3 and stuff like that, just staring at it going, God, that's nice. And then you'd open it, it'd be like base price, $37,000. I'd be like, wow. No, like my max would be like $3,100, like for used something. And I was driving around like in a Isuzu Trooper and stuff like that. And then I finally got into sort of show business, and I bought a Nissan Maxima from a dealer that was like a year and a half old. And to me, that was a new car. That was like my first new car.
What show is financing this car thing? The Man Show?
No, I was doing Loveline at that point on the radio and maybe on TV. I can't remember if I was doing it. Yeah, it was probably on MTV. I was doing Loveline. This is
with Diane Farr.
Yeah, this is pre-Man. This is pre-Man Show. And then at a certain point, I kind of remember I pulled up to the Playboy Mansion for some sort of Loveline, pre-party or whatever.
Right.
And I remember very clearly, like one of the producers going, "What are you driving a Maxima for?" And I was like, "What are you kidding me? That car's got leather interior. It's almost new."
Right.
Like I was like, "It's almost a new car and it's got leather." And he's like, "Do you have a BMW or Porsche or something?" I was like, "This car's almost new." Like it's like I couldn't go to the fact I wasn't even driving a pickup truck that was 20 years old.
So what is that first collector car you buy?
I bought...
because I have this belief that the collection kind of sneaks up on you, that no one really makes a decision to collect cars.
Yes.
They buy that first beautiful thing that they've been lusting after for maybe 5 or 6 years, and then... Well, maybe I'll get another one. Maybe I'll get an old version. So what's that car for you?
I got an E30 BMW M3. Mm-hmm. I love that first M3. I thought it was very European looking. I thought it was very cool looking.
Do you still have it?
No, it wasn't that. And by the way, when I bought it, the car was probably in '89, and I probably bought it in '96 or something.
Right,
so it wasn't really even an old car back then, as I think about it. It felt at the time like kind of a cool old vintage car or something, but it was just like 7 years old. And that was kind of the first one. And then I wasn't really collecting. I was just buying stuff I thought was interesting or cool, and that's when I came across Bob Sharp 610 Datsun vintage race car, and I got that. And then sort of once I got going down the road on the Datsun vintage race cars, I started just collecting more old Datsun and Nissan cars.
And where were you putting these things? Because now you're into a garage space issue. where
I had a house. I had two houses. I had the party house in Sherman Oaks, and then I had the house I lived in up in the hills, which didn't really have any space. So I started doing that. I had a big garage down at the party house. I could hold like 4 or 5 cars. And then at a certain point, I got this place, this warehouse we're in, and I started putting them here. And then I got another warehouse down the street, and I started putting them over there, and that's probably where we are now. And I ended
How
up...
big is your collection? Do you talk about it?
Oh, yeah, I do. I don't know...
because I know you collect Lamborghini. You had some Lamborghinis in there. You've got I think the only Porsche you own is this 935 Newman car, right?
Yeah.
What else? What else do you have? And where is it going? What do you like? What are you aiming for?
I have mostly Newman race cars. What are from Trans Am period in the mid '80s, tube frame cars, Oldsmobiles, Cutlasses that he ran, Nissan 300ZXs that he ran, all tube frame turbo cars with the Nissans, V6s, V8s with the Oldsmobile and naturally aspirated. And I'm rebuilding some of his... I rebuilt his GT1 championship car from '85. I'm rebuilding his GT1 championship car from '86 right now. And kind of mostly steering toward Newman right now in terms of the collection. I have a Lamborghini Miura SV, which I like very much.
Is that the blue car?
That's the blue car.
So gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. I think.
Do you drive it?
No. I think it's one of the most.
Can I drive it?
Yes.
Now, why wouldn't you be taking that to and from work at least a couple days a week? Why aren't you driving it?
I have this weird relationship with reality, which is, if you said to me, why don't you take your expensive Lamborghini on a Sunday? Why don't you just take it out to Cars and Coffee in Irvine or something? Or why not just take it up Angeles Crest Highway, put your kid in there, give him a thrill,
take it
or
to
whatever.
The grocery store.
Or take it to the grocery store, buy some popcorn, whatever. If you said that to me, I would say, it's so nice, and people, they open their car doors, they fling them open, it's going to get a ding, and by the way, I don't want
You've got a garage here.
I don't want the attention. I don't want people looking at me.
You're the ultimate car guy. You're one of those guys where you can, if anything happens to it, you pull it into one of your bays with your guys and say, take care of that. And they fix it.
So here's the juxtaposition of being me. So I would go, I don't want the attention.
Yes.
I don't want the hassle. I don't want people looking at me.
Right.
I don't want to deal with it. I just don't want to deal with it. All right. So that's what I'd say. So it sits. So the car shall sit driverless for months and years on end.
You're missing out on so much.
Right.
There are lots of little errands you can run in your vintage cars that you don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
I completely agree, but I never do, and I probably won't. But
I take my old race car from 1968, and if my kids do a good job on the last 2 days of school, I drive them each to school in the race car. And they love that.
You're so much better than
And there's a drop-off line. They open the door, they get out, the lady goes, "What's?" She's about to say,
Right.
"What's this?" You just drive off. You just leave.
I should.
And the kids, and I feel good. I feel like I'm using this thing.
You're right, and I don't. But then people say to me, what are you going to do with that 935? And I go, I'm going to go race it.
Yeah.
And they go,
no, it's great.
They go, it's a $5 million car. And I go, so be it. And they go, but what if you get in an accident? And I go, I don't know. We'll fix it.
You'll fix it.
And they go,
Exactly.
I don't know. Wouldn't you be uncomfortable racing that car? And I go, nope. And they go, how are you going to drive it? And I go, just drive it like I drive all the race cars.
Right.
And they'd go, well, that's weird. So
that's the same thing for the street cars. That's the exact right thinking for all of it.
You're right, and I only apply it to the track. I don't. I'll show you a lap. You want to see a lap in that car?
No, I want
to see it.
I have to see it.
You have to see it because people don't get what those races are. Like they think you're doing parade laps or something.
I don't think that at all. I
think some of your listeners think that's what goes on those races.
Yeah, maybe. But I know what you're up to. It's an amazing car that you bought. It's a scary car, and that you're out there racing it. I have the ultimate respect for you.
I would like you now one lap.
But by the way, I'd like you now to put a license plate on that 935.
I can't do it. But
go to the Ralphs and buy some chicken.
Yes.
All right, here we go. We're watching TV on a podcast.
That's one lap. And your audience will love the sound.
Yes.
They'll love the sound.
All right, you tell us what's happening here.
You come around and you look for the green flag.
Now, is that turn, that when you come around to that straightaway, every time I watch a race here, it looks like everybody's sliding almost off the track right there. What is that? Is the car off balance?
Tires are cold.
But no, every lap, even throughout the whole race.
Oh, because they get on it. Because they get on it coming out of that corner, coming out of the hairpin. There's an RSR for you. There's two RSRs.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of RSRs and a bunch of 935s in this race. Turn it up, Matt. This is my favorite. I love this sound. Well, you'll see when we get on it. Tire. Go into turn 4 there. Now the turbo kick in here.
Wow, there he goes. He's passing cars. That is so cool.
It's such a cool car. It's such a cool
Look at that thing.
It's great. Look at it. Yeah, they're fast.
Wow.
They're naturally aspirated, but they're fast.
And
They're
what's in your head? What's going on in your head right now? Are you getting down to yourself because you missed a shift? Are you just having fun?
No, I didn't even feel it. My hand just corrected it sort of automatically. I'm sort of like, I never drove this car before, so I don't really know what the shift pattern. Like I'm used to driving a car with a different shift pattern. So
look, there it is. It looks like it shifts wonderful here.
This is the corner everyone slides out of a little, although no one really slid out of that one.
I've never been on this track, but what worries me is that elevation change, the little twisty turn toward the backside.
That's the easiest part.
Why is that easy?
I can tell you I've never had a problem with that with the corkscrew.
Wow.
Never an issue.
You're a real man.
Some people do.
I can't believe this.
It's one of these things. I don't know. For me, it's like, You know, I talk to some people, and they go, oh, I'm freaked out by spiders. And then other people go, I don't care about spiders. I'll let them crawl in my hand. And you go, but that's just a weird wiring. Like, I don't care about the corkscrew. I've never
Did you go to racing school? Did you?
Yeah, you do.
Where did you go? Skip Barber or Jim Hall? Kart racing? What was your Bondurant?
I did this fast lane or something out at Willow Springs whenever they did the Toyota Grand Prix. But those are like Scions with a cone air filter on them.
But is that where your racing thing started, the Toyota Grand Prix, the celebrity race?
Yeah, I think once you got some training and got kind of used to it again, but a car with like power windows and a stereo. And
it's like, a rental car.
Yeah, essentially a rental car race. But you got the feel of it. The vintage cars are much more visceral and difficult, sort of hard to, there's not a lot of creature comforts and stuff like that. But to answer the question to everyone who was like a lot of like, what's going on? Oh, the 935. Oh, the 935. What a car. My Nissan turbo cars are faster than the 935 is. Now, maybe somebody needs to learn how to drive the 935 like me, but the Nissan turbo car is from 1988, so it's, almost 10 years newer. It's a full tube frame car, full bespoke race car with 650 horsepower turbo Nissan in it. Like that car hauls ass. Wow. So it's not like everyone does this math where it's like, oh, you got out of your Datsun and into a real car, and it's like, no, the real car's fast. So
is this the only racing you do during the year, or are you going to do? Are you involved in any of the racing series and any other cars?
I did a professional Trans Am race at Willow Springs in a C7R Corvette, and I did that in like March, and that was my first like professional series or my first professional race, and it was kind of dumb because it was that 850 horsepower car, like it was a crazy Can-Am Trans Am 1. They have 1, 2, and 3. I should have been in 3, but I was in 1 for some reason.
Because you're Adam Carolla.
I guess so, and it went well. So I took that, and now the end of the series is at COTA in like November or something, and I'm trying to get back in the Trans Am for that race.
Unbelievable. I don't know how you do this.
I don't prepare. I just do it.
You just get out and lap the track. Nothing. Are you thinking about Le Mans or anything like that, or racing a big series? Is there anything you dream of racing? Any track?
I don't have. I don't have a lot of aspirations for some reason, but I do end up in cars on tracks a lot. For a guy who doesn't think about it that much, because what happens is,
you're getting. But see, this is where I can't figure out why you won't do this on the street. You're getting so much attention on the racetrack. You're being put in a different class. I'm guessing people take your picture in the paddock, and
it's crazy.
It's crazy, right?
That car, the beginning of that video has me sitting in the car and a huge crowd of people around the front of the car taking pictures, and because they love the car.
That will not happen driving around L.A. in your vintage Miura. It won't.
I know.
I agree.
You're right.
By the way,
You're
I agree with you about not going to Cars and Coffee. There's nothing I hate more, really, than a car show. I don't like standing around with a bunch of guys with their hands behind their back and talking. I can hang for about 40 minutes, and then I have to get the hell out of there.
Right.
For me, it's all about driving. It's about getting in these old cars and doing stuff in them.
Yeah, I
the attention,
agree.
Who cares about these? You don't even get it.
I gotta say,
but you could put a license plate on that 935. And you would make my life if I saw you going down the 10.
Couldn't. The problem, God's honest, is I can't get out of my warehouse in that car, and most all the cars I own, because they're a quarter-inch off the ground. The front of that car is a quarter-inch off the ground, and you can't drive it off the driveway and onto the street.
You can adjust that, though.
No, the clearance on these cars is so minuscule that you can't get it. You could trailer it onto the street.
Okay, well, the Miura you can.
The Miura, you could do it.
You could do it, but you also sometimes, unless you have that car sorted and it's right and it works a lot, you need a guy driving behind you taking care of stuff.
I think you need a AAA guy driving behind you in a tow truck. I think one of the things that happened to me is I used to do a lot more, hey, I'm going on a run kind of thing in my sports car. And then once I got into vintage racing and or just sort of racing, I just sort of went like, no, it's not exciting unless I can get strapped in and get other guys out there. And I'm like looking over my shoulder for cops. Is there a cop around? Like there's so many cops. And I was like, this that kind of thing that I got like, it's like, I started slamming heroin, and then someone's like, hey, you want a half a Vicodin? And I'm like, nah. And they're like, oh, you don't do drugs? Oh, no, I do drugs. Do you have any heroin? Like, I got used to this one thing, and then the other thing just kind of became like, I don't even, my daily driver, like, people are like, why don't you get something nice, like something really nice?
Well,
and
what
like,
do you daily drive?
I got a Jag, which is nice.
The F-Pace?
But I had the F-Pace, and I went to another Jag, I don't even know what it is, but I had a guy say to me last night, he was looking at me in my Jag. He was like walking me out to the driveway or something. And he put his head in and he went, hey, this is nice. And I said, yeah. And he knows I'm a car guy. And he said, is it fast? And I said, I don't know. He said, why don't you know? And I said, because I just go to work and turn around and come home again. Like, that's my thing. And then we'll go race.
That's right.
That's
a very
my
common
new
race
wiring.
car driver thing. I know a guy who races Ferraris who drives a Tesla. I said, what are you driving this for? He goes, I go fast on the track. It's hot in that car. I want something that's quiet and works and has AC. That's very common for you race car drivers.
I think maybe that's what's going on with me.
Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on Spike's Car Radio. I truly appreciate talking to you yet again.
We'll have to do it again. There's so much more to cover.
I really want you to come out to Malibu next time. We'll take a drive.
I would love to. I feel like you could be my muse.
I know something about this drive thing, and I think I have the road and the cars to do it, and I think you're going to enjoy it. You'll relax.
I shall.
You'll calm down. Adam Carolla, everybody. We'll see you next week on Spike's Car Radio.
Thanks for listening to Spike's Car Radio. Download new episodes every Wednesday on the Podcast One app or subscribe now at Apple Podcasts or PodcastOne.com.
If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles and have an auto warranty about to expire or no warranty coverage at all, listen up. CarShield has a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that covers more parts than ever. Visit carshield.com/audio to find out how you could pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Get your free quote today at carshield.com/audio. That's carshield.com/audio.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.